Honestly very aware of everything that's going on in Gaza. For me, I always say I pray for peace in the region, and I really don't.
I think two things. I think as growing up, I think I just realized that, the only expectations that matter are the ones you put on yourself. And then also I think just, the more people say you can't have to prove anything to anyone except myself perspective. And I think just, realizing that, there's probably more pressure on.
Breaking. Coco Gauff's midnight meltdown exposes Australian Open's toxic secret. The confession that has tennis begging for silence. What you're about to hear will make your blood boil. The game. But tonight, on Chatterbox, we don't do silence. We do truth. And the truth about what happened to Coco Gauff at the 2026 Australian Open is darker, more twisted, and more heartbreaking than anything you saw on your television screen. The images are seared into our collective memory now. The tears, the trembling hands, the voice cracking as she uttered 5 words that would echo around the world. I can't stay silent anymore. But what led to that moment? What happened in the hours between the final point and that devastating midnight press conference? What was said on that court that the microphones didn't catch? And why is the tennis establishment absolutely terrified that you're watching this video right now? Buckle up, because we are about to take you inside the match that broke a superstar. We have the quotes. We have the timeline. We have the leaked details that prove this wasn't just a tennis match gone wrong. This was a psychological ambush. This was a character assassination disguised as competition. This was the moment that revealed the ugliest side of professional tennis. And it all has a secret. Hit that subscribe button right now, because what you're about to hear will change how you watch tennis forever. Let's rewind to February 2026. Melbourne. The Australian summer is in full swing, the heat radiating off the blue courts of Melbourne Park like waves of anticipation. The Australian Open, known affectionately as the Happy Slam, is supposed to be the most fan-friendly, the most joyous, the most celebratory of all the Grand Slam tournaments. Players love coming to Australia. The crowds are enthusiastic but fair. The atmosphere is electric but respectful. It's paradise, right? Well, for Coco Gauff, it became hell on earth. She walked onto Rod Laver Arena looking every bit the champion she had become. At 21 years old, Coco wasn't the wide-eyed teenager who shocked the world at Wimbledon anymore. She was a Grand Slam champion. She was a global icon. She had millions of followers hanging on her every serve, every interview, every Instagram story. The pressure on her shoulders would crush most people, but Coco had always handled it with grace that seemed almost superhuman. She smiled through the criticism. She stayed humble through the praise. She was, in every sense of the word, a role model. But on this particular day, something was different from the moment she stepped onto that court. If you were watching at home, sipping your morning coffee or your evening wine, depending on your time zone, you probably noticed the match felt tense. Maybe you chalked it up to nerves. Maybe you thought Coco was just having an off day. The commentators certainly tried to frame it that way, filling the awkward silences with analysis of her footwork, discussions about her serve percentage, anything to avoid acknowledging the elephant stampeding across center court. Because those of us who have seen the footage, who have spoken to people who were courtside, who have pieced together the timeline from leaked audio snippets and eyewitness accounts, we know the truth. This wasn't nerves. This wasn't an off day. This was warfare. And the weapons weren't just forehands and backhands. They were words. Cruel, calculated, precisely aimed words designed to destroy Coco Gauff from the inside out. From the very first changeover, Coco's opponent began what can only be described as a campaign of psychological terrorism. Now, before you jump into the comments screaming about how trash talk is part of sports, let me stop you right there. This wasn't trash talk. Trash talk is, I'm better than you. Trash talk is, you can't handle my serve. Trash talk, in the right context, can even be fun, competitive banter between warriors respecting each other's game. What happened to Coco Gauff was not that. Not even close. According to multiple sources who were close enough to hear, and we're talking front row seats where every grunt and gasp is audible, the opponent's comments were personal, vicious, and designed to hit Coco where it would hurt most. You don't belong here. Let that sink in. Not, I'm going to beat you, but you don't belong here. As if Coco Gauff, a player who had earned her ranking through blood, sweat, and tears since she was a child, was somehow an imposter. As if her success was a clerical error that needed correcting. Because where was the chair umpire in all of this? Where was the person whose entire job is to maintain fair play and sportsmanship on the court? Great question. Let's talk about the umpires, shall we? Because what happened with the officiating of this match is either the most staggering display of incompetence in professional tennis history, or it's something far more sinister, far more calculated, and far more disturbing. We've gone back through the footage. We've analyzed every call, every overrule, every warning. And the pattern is undeniable. Time violation warnings when Koko was well within the legal window, when she was actually serving faster than her usual pace because she was trying to get through the nightmare as quickly as possible. Foot fault calls on critical break points. Calls that when you watch the replay in slow motion show her foot clearly behind the baseline with inches to spare. Overrules that seem to define not just physics but logic itself, where a ball that painted the line was called out, where a clear winner was somehow negated by an official who claimed he had a better angle than the technology designed specifically to eliminate human error. At one point in the second set, and this moment has been captured on camera for anyone who wants to see it, Koko approached the chair. Her hands were visibly shaking. Her voice, usually so strong and clear, was trembling with a mixture of frustration and desperation. She wasn't asking for a point. She wasn't demanding anything. She was pleading for basic human intervention. "Are you going to stop this?" she asked. Simple question. Direct question. The kind of question that deserves an answer from someone in a position of authority. The umpire's response. A cold, dead-eyed stare. No empathy. No acknowledgement of the situation unfolding before him. And then, in a move that still makes absolutely no sense to anyone who understands tennis, he issued Koko a warning for unsportsmanlike conduct. Let me repeat that because it's so absurd it bears repeating. Coco Gauff, who was being verbally abused by her opponent, who was being called for phantom violations by the official himself, received a warning for asking him to do his job. Coco Gauff, known throughout the tour as one of the most respectful, gracious, professional players in the game, was accused of unsportsmanlike conduct for having the audacity to ask for fairness. The message was clear. Shut up. Take it. You're not in control here. And if you complain, we'll punish you harder. It's gaslighting on a global stage. It's abuse of power caught in 4K resolution. And yet, somehow, the broadcast commentators just kept talking about her unforced errors as if her mental state existed in a vacuum, as if the hostile environment being created around her had nothing to do with her performance declining with each passing game. But here's the thing about Coco Gauff that her detractors always seem to forget. She's a fighter. She's been fighting since she was 6 years old, hitting balls against a wall in Delray Beach, Florida, dreaming of Grand Slam glory. She's been fighting since she was 15, stepping onto center court at Wimbledon to face her idol Venus Williams with the whole world expecting her to crumble. She's been fighting through injuries, through coaching changes, through the constant pressure of being labeled the future of American tennis before she was old enough to vote. So despite the insults that stung worse than any body shot, despite the officiating that seemed determined to sabotage her, despite feeling like she was playing one against the world, Koko fought. She ran down every ball with that incredible speed that makes her one of the best athletes in the sport. She gritted her teeth and tried to block out the noise, the cruel words, the biased calls, the growing sense that this match was rigged from the start. She tried to remember why she fell in love with tennis in the first place. The pure competition, the joy of the game, the satisfaction of a perfectly struck forehand. "I tried to smile," she would later say, her voice breaking as the tears flowed freely. "I tried to act like everything was okay. And if you go back and watch the match, you can see it. Between points, she would force that smile. She would bounce the ball with that rhythmic confidence. She would adjust her visor and take a deep breath as if sheer willpower could create a force field against the toxicity surrounding her. She was trying to be the Coco Gauff everyone expected, the poised champion, the gracious competitor, the role model who never lets them see you sweat. But Coco Gauff wasn't done. Most players, after a match like that, would have given the standard post-match interview. A few polite sentences about the opponent playing well, a commitment to do better next time, maybe a vague mention of some physical issue to explain the poor performance. Then they'd go back to their hotel, order room service, and try to forget the day ever happened. That's the script. That's what you're supposed to do. Keep it professional. Don't make waves. Protect the image of the sport above all else. Koko was about to light that script on fire. It was midnight in Melbourne. The stadium was emptying out. Cleaning crews were sweeping up the popcorn and soda cups. The lights were being dimmed on the outer courts. Most of the media had already filed their stories and headed to the bar. The 2026 Australian Open was moving on to the next day, the next match, the next storyline. Just another day in paradise, right? Wrong. Inside the main press conference room, a drama was unfolding that would eclipse every other story of the tournament. Coco Gauff, who was supposed to have done her media obligations hours ago, finally sat down in front of the microphones. And the moment she sat down, everyone in that room knew something was different. Her eyes were red and puffy from crying. Her face was drawn with exhaustion that went beyond the physical. She looked like someone who had been through a war. Because she had been. And then, she spoke. The transcript of what happened next is something that needs to be preserved in the history of sports. It's raw. It's painful. It's the sound of someone who has been pushed past their breaking point and has decided that silence is no longer an option. I can't stay silent any longer. The words burst out of her like a dam breaking, and immediately the tears followed. Real tears. Messy tears. The kind of crying that can't be pretty or controlled, the kind that makes your whole body shake. Throughout the match, she managed to say between sobs, wiping her eyes with the sleeve of her jacket because she hadn't even thought to bring tissues. She constantly insulted me. She mocked me. Every changeover. Every time I missed a first serve. Every time I showed any emotion, she was there with another comment designed to break me down. The reporters in the room, hardened journalists who have seen everything in their careers, were stunned into complete silence. This wasn't the script. This wasn't what happens at Grand Slam press conferences. Champions are supposed to be gracious in defeat. They're supposed to protect the image of the sport. They're supposed to smile through the pain. But Koko was done smiling. And the umpire, she continued, her voice gaining strength even as the tears continued to flow. He made unreasonable decisions. I know tennis. I've been playing this sport since I could walk. I know the rules better than most people on tour. That wasn't about enforcing rules. That was about something else. That was personal. She looked up, staring directly into the lens of the camera that was still recording. And in that moment, she wasn't just talking to the reporters in the room. She was talking to everyone. She was talking to the officials who had failed her. She was talking to her opponent who had tormented her. She was talking to every young girl who has ever been told she doesn't belong. I tried to smile. I tried to act like everything was okay. Because that's what I'm supposed to do, right? Be the good girl. Be the role model. Don't make a scene. Don't complain. Just take it and move on. The bitterness in her voice was palpable. This was someone who had played by every rule, who had been the perfect ambassador for the sport, and who had been rewarded with abuse. But I'm only human. I work hard every day. Every single day since I was a child, I've been working for this. And it hurts. It hurts to be treated as if I don't deserve to be here. As if my success is a mistake. As if I'm not enough. The silence in that room was deafening. You could have heard a pin drop. Some reporters were taking notes frantically. Others had put their pens down and were just listening, really listening, to what she was saying. This was history. This was a moment that would be replayed and analyzed and referenced for years to come. This was Coco Gauff's midnight confession, and it was changing everything. Think about what she just said. Treat it as if I don't deserve to be here. This is Coco Gauff we're talking about. A player who has won Grand Slams. A player who has been ranked in the top 5 in the world. A player who has millions of fans, who has endorsement deals with some of the biggest brands on the planet, who is quite literally the face of American tennis. And yet, in 2026, on one of the biggest stages in the world, she was made to feel small. She was made to feel unworthy. She was made to feel like an imposter. Social media exploded. The hashtag #StandWithCoco started trending within minutes of her press conference ending and hasn't left the top spot on Twitter since. Millions of people sharing their own stories of being mistreated, being told they don't belong, being gaslit by people in positions of authority. Athletes from other sports chimed in, recognizing the universal nature of what Koko was describing. Fans started organizing boycotts of the tournament sponsors. The outcry was so massive, so immediate, so sustained, that the tennis establishment couldn't ignore it even if they wanted to. And here at Chatterbox, we've been doing what we do best, digging deeper. We've received information from insiders, from people close to the locker room, from former players who have been waiting for someone with Coco's platform to finally speak up. And what we've learned suggests this goes so much deeper than just one match. This opponent, the one who tormented Koko on court, apparently has a history of this behavior. Multiple sources have confirmed to us that she has a reputation for targeting younger players, for using intimidation tactics, for saying things that cross the line when she thinks nobody is paying attention. Why hasn't it been called out before? Because usually, the victims stay silent. Usually, they cry in their hotel rooms, not in press conferences. Usually, they're afraid of being labeled difficult or emotional or unable to handle the pressure. Usually, they're more concerned with protecting their careers than seeking justice. Coco Gauff broke that code of silence. She said what others have been thinking for years. And in doing so, she opened the floodgates for other stories to come out. We're also hearing extremely disturbing reports about the chair umpire from that match. Internet sleuths, God bless them, have been doing the kind of investigative journalism that mainstream media should have been doing all along. Compilation videos are surfacing showing this official's track record with American players, and particularly with Coco Gauff in previous tournaments. Missed calls that always seem to go against her. Bad overrules at crucial moments. Body language that can only be described as hostile. Time violations called with suspicious frequency. Is it a coincidence? Or is it a pattern? The data suggests it's the latter, and that is terrifying. That suggests systemic bias. That suggests an official who should never have been assigned to this match in the first place. And then there's the privacy breach that added insult to injury. While Koko was dealing with the emotional fallout of the match, while she was trying to process her trauma in what she thought was a safe space, footage was leaked. Footage of her in the tunnel immediately after the match. Private moments. Moments of vulnerability made the decision to air her pain for ratings. To turn her breakdown into content. To monetize her suffering. In her midnight confession, Koko alluded to this betrayal when she talked about the chaotic crowd and the deafening cheers, and then having no safe space. To have cameras everywhere waiting for me to crack? She asked, her voice filled with hurt and anger. It's too much. And she's right. It is too much. This is the reality of being a superstar in 2026. You're not a person anymore. You're a commodity. Your serve is a product to be marketed. Your tears are content to be consumed. Your pain is entertainment to be packaged and sold to the highest bidder. But Koko is fighting back, and she's not fighting alone anymore. If the powers that be thought this controversy would blow over after a few news cycles, they were dead wrong. The Australian Open's social media pages have been absolutely flooded with comments demanding accountability. They're deleting comments as fast as they appear, but they can't stop the wave. For every comment they delete, 10 more appear. Fans are demanding the release of the full courtside audio. They want to hear exactly what was said. They want proof. If she said it, prove it, one highly liked comment demanded. Release the tapes. Let the world hear what happened on that court. Others are calling for immediate consequences. You can't watch that match and tell me it was fair. Another comment read, that was a hit job. That umpire should be suspended immediately, if not banned from the sport entirely. The anger is real. The outrage is justified. And it's not going away. Even former tennis legends are weighing in now, though many are being careful with their words because they still have relationships within the sport to protect. But the cryptic tweets and carefully worded statements are all saying the same thing. This was wrong. This crossed a line. Something needs to change. So where do we go from here? The Australian Open tournament is still ongoing as we record this, but a dark cloud hangs over Melbourne Park now. Every match that Coco's opponent plays is met with audible boos from the crowd. Fans are showing up with signs. They're chanting Coco's name during her opponent's service games. It's unprecedented. It's uncomfortable. And it's absolutely necessary. The chair umpire from the match has been mysteriously removed from the schedule for the finals, which is a silent admission of guilt if there ever was one. The tennis authorities are clearly scrambling, trying to figure out how to handle a situation that has spiraled completely out of their control. But for Koko, the immediate battle is over. She's left Melbourne. She's gone back home to Florida, surrounded by her family, by people who love her unconditionally and have supported her since before the world knew her name. But even though she's physically removed from the site of her trauma, her words are still ringing in all of our ears. I can't stay silent. She hasn't just spoken for herself. She's spoken for every player who has been bullied on court. She's spoken for every athlete who has been told to shut up and play, to stop being so emotional, to just accept unfair treatment because complaining makes you look weak. She's spoken for every young woman who has been told that her feelings don't matter, that her experience isn't valid, that she should be grateful for the opportunity to compete even if the playing field isn't level. Coco Gauff didn't win the Australian Open trophy this year, but she might have won something much more important. She won the truth. She exposed the cracks in the system. She showed us that even the strongest among us have a breaking point, and that reaching that breaking point isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of humanity. It's a sign that you've been pushed too far, that something is fundamentally broken, and that change needs to happen. Right now? Not next year. Not after another investigation that goes nowhere. Right now? We are still waiting for the official investigation results, though frankly, we're not holding our breath. These investigations have a way of dragging on forever and concluding with a slap on the wrist and a promise to do better next time. We're waiting for the audio tapes to be released, though the longer we wait, the more we suspect they're being buried to protect certain people. And you better believe that Chatterbox will be the first to bring you those updates when they happen. We're monitoring this situation around the clock because this story is far from over. But one thing is absolutely certain. The tennis world will never look at that opponent or that chair umpire the same way again. Their reputations are permanently stained. Every call that umpire makes from now on will be scrutinized with a magnifying glass. Every match that opponent plays will be watched by fans looking for evidence of the behavior Koko described. They can't hide anymore. The light has been shown into the dark corners of professional tennis, and what we've seen there is ugly. Coco Gauff stood tall through all of this, even through the tears, especially through the tears, because those tears weren't weakness. Those tears were strength. Those tears were her refusing to pretend anymore, refusing to smile through the pain, refusing to protect a system that failed to protect her. She told us she works hard every day. She told us she deserves to be here. And Koko, if you're watching this video, if somehow this reaches you in Florida where you're recovering and healing, please know, you absolutely deserve to be here. You deserve better than what happened to you in Melbourne. You deserve fairness. You deserve respect. You deserve to compete in an environment where the only battle is the one happening on the scoreboard, not in your head because of abuse from your opponent and bias from the official. And we hear you. Millions of us hear you. Your midnight confession wasn't in vain. It started a conversation that needed to happen. It exposed problems that needed to be exposed. And it reminded all of us why sports matter. Not because of the trophies or the prize money or the glory, but because of what they're supposed to represent. Fair competition, mutual respect, the idea that if you work hard enough and believe in yourself enough, you can achieve anything. What happened to you violated all of those principles. And we're not going to let it be forgotten or swept under the rug. We will continue to follow this story as it develops. We will continue to dig for answers. We will continue to demand accountability. We will continue to amplify Coco's voice and the voices of everyone else who has been mistreated in professional tennis. Because Coco Gauff couldn't stay silent any longer. And neither will we. This is what Chatterbox does. We talk about what they want to hide. We shine light in dark corners. We give voice to the voiceless and power to those who have been pushed around for too long. So here's what I need you to do right now. If you believe that Coco Gauff deserves better, if you believe that professional tennis needs to change, if you believe that athletes are human beings who deserve dignity and respect, smash that like button. Let's get this video to 100,000 likes to show the algorithm and show the tennis establishment that people care about this issue, that this isn't going away, that we demand change. Drop a comment below telling us what you think. Should the Australian Open release the full courtside audio so we can hear exactly what was said? Do you think the chair umpire showed bias? What consequences should there be for players who cross the line from competition to abuse? What changes need to happen to protect athletes from this kind of treatment? Let's get a real conversation going in the comments. I'll be down there reading your thoughts, responding to the best comments, and continuing this discussion because it's too important to let die. And most importantly, subscribe to Chatterbox and hit that bell notification. Because this story is far from over. We're tracking new developments every single day. We've got sources inside the tennis world feeding us information. We're monitoring social media for new revelations. And the moment that opponent responds to these allegations, the moment the investigation results are announced, The moment those audio tapes leak, we will be going live to break it all down for you. You do not want to miss a single update on this story. This is bigger than tennis. This is about standing up for what's right. This is about supporting someone who had the courage to tell the truth, even when it was terrifying to do so. This is about demanding that the institutions we love, the sports we follow, live up to the values they claim to represent. Coco Gauff took the first step by breaking her silence. Now it's up to all of us to make sure her bravery wasn't for nothing. Share this video. Talk about this story. Keep the pressure on. Because the truth always comes out eventually. We just have to make sure it comes out before everyone moves on to the next headline. Thank you for watching Chatterbox. Thank you for caring enough to stick with this story. Thank you for being part of the solution instead of part of the problem. Remember, we don't do silence here. We do truth. And the truth is, Coco Gauff is a champion. Not because of the trophies she's won, but because of the stand she's taken. See you in the next one. Stay loud, stay proud, and never stop demanding better.